Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Footy. I'm your host Shaheen, and I'm sitting down with Lau. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Ayo. If you've been following the podcast for a while, Ayo has been on it multiple times. Ayo, welcome. It's good to have you again, my man.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Let's just start. The Champions League. I'm sure both of you watched it. What are your initial thoughts?
Everyone is a bit surprised at the lineup. Uh, Chelsea, not
Yes.
so much. Man City, the fact that Rodri or Fernandinho didn't start is a bit questionable. Then you actually ask yourself, do you have the audacity to question Pep? Uh, but you can't help feel that if there was a designated holding midfielder in that game, maybe the first goal would not have happened, the first and only goal. So that was a big moment. It was a really really big moment where if it paid off, then maybe we would all be saying Pep is a genius, and it's not paid off, and we can all now begin to wonder why exactly did he start the team he started.
It's a
So
good
yes,
question. It's a good question,
yes.
and it was very clear. Like Gundogan on that goal was just he was. It's just he's not a defensive minded player, right? He's not an anchor or a defensive type of player. To like if it was Conte, if it was Rodri, if it was Fernandinho, they would make that run to cover that gap in between, the center back and the left back. But he just simply didn't do it. I don't know, Lau. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just like a classic case of Pep overthinking a tactic. I mean, prior to this final, it was either Fernandinho or Rodri, right, as a holding mid. A very few cases, neither of them played, and to try to switch up the whole game plan right on a final, maybe trying to have like a surprise factor, but it's a decision that was not worth the risk at the end of the day, right?
What do you guys think he was trying to achieve? Like when I look at it, I feel like maybe he just wanted to really dominate the midfield. Like with Kevin De Bruyne, he was like the false nine. With Kevin De Bruyne maybe dropping deeper a little bit, he was trying to really dominate that midfield with 3 against 2 or like 4 against 2 or 4 against 3. But uh, you just also have like look at how Chelsea eliminated Real Madrid, right? They're so fast on the counter. They're so clinical. Their pace is just so high and it's so out there, so obvious. So for him to make that decision, I was very surprised, just like you
Well,
guys mentioned.
I also think that Chelsea was okay with giving up the midfield. I think they defended very well and they took the chances they got, right? They knew they
Yeah.
were gonna, even with Fernandinho or with Rodri, I think they were gonna already give up the midfield. So adding a third ball playing midfielder for City didn't really accomplish anything different.
So mm, I agree with that, and that would lead to a question, which is, did Pep not understand that Chelsea would give up possession? Because I look at Chelsea almost under Thomas as a team that is really, really patient with the ball. Like I remember watching the first game against Man City. It's possible that Chelsea had more possession in that game. Uh, I've looked at the Chelsea team as very, very controlled. So did Pep go into the game thinking we need to have more of the ball? We need to have that ball movement a little bit faster, and maybe that led to having Gundogan play where he played. But does that also mean that in another way, Pep has just revealed a weakness in Rodri or Fernandinho? You see, because Pep said after the game that he wanted ball movement, quick. He wanted quick ball movements. He wanted the little guys that can play in half spaces. What does that say about Rodri, given that you've played him all season? So again, I think maybe Pep's man management is going to be questioned here.
Yeah,
It's very
but
interesting for sure.
sorry, Ayo, but like I don't know what you're saying. Guardiola saying Rodri or Fernandinho not being quick enough. Like it's not like you're playing against um like a Cruz or a Modric. It's not like it's Jorginho and Conte. I think
Hmm.
Rodri or Fernandinho would manage that, right? Um,
Yes.
it's not like you were going against a really really fascinating strong midfield that you just weren't going to touch the ball. You know what I mean? I think maybe Pep was respecting Chelsea way too much and trying to and thought they were stronger than they actually are in midfield. So he what Lau said he kind of he was overthinking
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I don't know, but Ayo, you also bring up a good point saying, do we have the right to say that Pep got it wrong, right? I'm sure he's thought about all this, but when I listened to what he said at the end of the game, he said he put the team that he thought would win the game and would be the best, which obviously is true. Like nobody's gonna question that. No coach goes out there and puts a team that he doesn't think is gonna win. But I think I think it was just a very basic, I guess, mistake. There's nobody else you can blame but Pep.
If we're thinking about the goal, like
Hmm.
we said previously, it didn't come from a direct City mistake, but if they had a holding mid,
Hmm.
um, I think that initial pass would have been prevented. I also think
Yes.
Ederson, people kind of just they just counted it as a goal, but I think Ederson could have done a bit more in that situation.
He kind of
Uh,
pulled away a little
he
bit.
pulled away. I don't know if he thought he was outside the box to give him
Yeah,
the
I think
handball or something, but I think at that point you just go with everything and clear the ball as hard as possible. You know,
Hmm.
you take what you can, but like the spill was kind of weird, and then Havertz just taps it in for the 1-0.
Yes. The weight of the pass from Mason Mount, the angle, the the change in body position from Havertz maybe affected Ederson a little bit because I remember seeing the pass and then seeing everything happen in the split second. I'm like, okay, this is actually interesting. This is actually a big deal. It's a really nice pass. Uh, I don't even think Havertz understood the pass at the beginning, to be fair. So yeah,
What
that
do you mean
was
by that? What do you mean he didn't understand the pass?
like in the sense that so he started making his run, right? So he's shown his angle. I want this pass here. Okay.
Mhm.
Mason Mount gives you the pass. The pass literally comes on a platter. That all
Yeah.
you need to do is a proper striker finishes one touch.
Yeah,
Okay. But because Harvard, I think, doesn't anticipate exactly the weight, he has to, I guess, alter his body position in a way. Like it's something where if you actually look at it again, you will see that in a split second before he touches that ball, there's there's like a decision from him that okay, I need to change how I approach this as it gets to me. And maybe that in a way confuses Ederson because for sure he changes his angle. And when I looked at that pass, if you give that to a Hurricane, it's a one-touch finish.
yeah, yeah.
So
Like a
Uh
dink over the goalie.
yes,
but was Ederson that high though? I don't think it was that high to be chipped, and I don't think the distance would have made sense for one touch finish. I think Howard's was he was way outside of the box. For him to shoot one time, I don't know. I don't know. I would have to go back and look at it, but it's an interesting point. You're saying Havertz changing his mind on and taking a touch and changing his approach puts off Ederson's decision and coming
I
out.
think so. I think so.
Ayo,
Interesting.
you were saying that a proper striker finishes it one touch. What do you think
Yes.
if Timo Werner was in that situation? Was he
Oh
scoring that?
no. You see, the thing is, I really, really no. Timo's not gonna score. He had much more.
He had
Like
easier chances.
yeah, I understand the appeal of he makes runs off the ball. He's hardworking. As coaches, we want our players to be hardworking, but that guy should not be playing at Chelsea's level, and that was just very clear. in the Champions League final. Like, yes, he made a run, but that's expected.
Yeah.
At Chelsea's level, you should be doing that. Like Harry Kane would do that. Lukaku would do that. The big difference is think. Let's look at it this way: a proper striker, a Harry Kane, a Lukaku, a Cristiano Ronaldo, even an Aubameyang. That game finishes 3-0.
Yeah.
So you're
And
saying they would
Maybe
make
3-0 in the first half, probably.
yes,
So you're saying
and
they would make all those runs, they would have all those contributions, plus they would
yes,
finish.
definitely. That's why you're a world class striker playing at Chelsea's level. Didier Drogba would do that. So I really,
There's
really
no
understand.
doubt, there's no
Yeah.
doubt that Werner is not at the level of Drogba or Harry Kane, but he's still young. I think there's a lot he brings, like his pace, his change of direction, his movement. He is very very aware of his surroundings, as his like the players around him. I think he really is, and he has interesting statistics too. Like he has quite a bit of assists and goals for his name for a young striker. So I don't think uh, you're giving him the credit that he deserves. But I completely agree that his finishing lacks.
Yeah, he has a lot of contributions, whether it be assists, goals, chances created, but he also has the most chances missed out of an EPL striker this season. I think it was 26 key chances missed, which is he's getting into the spots,
Yeah.
but it's not coming out for him. And
Yeah.
I think that happened to a lot of Chelsea strikers recently over the years. If you
Mhm.
think after Drogba, we all know Fernando Torres didn't perform to the levels he could have at Chelsea. Falcao, recently Higuain,
Mhm.
right? All
Yeah.
struggle. I don't know. Maybe it's been different coaches, but maybe it's something. It's a curse from Chelsea. Their star strikers don't
Yeah,
don't perform.
it's interesting for sure. Like I agree 100%. His contribution is top, but when you
at
when
at the
you're
end
not
of the
finishing
day,
it, you should not be at Chelsea.
yeah, at the end
You
of the
should be
day,
at
you
West
want
Ham.
Yeah,
West Ham is doing well. At the end of the day, I agree. I think you need your strikers to score in big games. And Werner,
Mhm.
like if Havertz did not score that, or if Man City came back, uh, you could easily blame blame Werner and say he should have
yeah,
Yeah.
scored. He had two very clear chances in the first half. Like it should have been 3-0 at halftime, to be honest, or
yeah,
3-1
That
or
that I
something.
think is that I think is the biggest disappointment in the game. That for all Pep tried to do, whatever he tried to do, Chelsea were by and large the better team.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that
even
that is the biggest disappointment.
even in the second half, yeah, Man City had a bit more of the ball. They did a little bit better than they did in the first half, but
Mhm.
Chelsea were just so disciplined, so organized defensively, and every time they won the ball, they knew exactly what they needed to
Mhm.
do, and they wanted to, and they did it, and they did
yeah,
it. It was
Mhm.
amazing. And I tell you what, one of my like as a coach. I'm not a big fan of playing three at the back because I think in big games against really strong teams, your wing backs can get caught because they're not defending. Their positioning won't be as like if you're facing really good teams, right? They'll fall behind. But like Reece James and Chilwell, oh my God, these guys were attacking, but they were coming back. Like Chilwell had a nice clearance in the first half. It was Man City's one of the chances, and he came in last ditch. Like he cleared that ball, and he was sprinting back. I don't know, man. They were very organized. They were very impressive. They were working hard. They wanted it more too, in my view. I
yeah.
think
I think for me, Reece James was the man of the match that game.
he
Um,
did really well.
he obviously Conte, he did great, but
Yeah,
Reece James absolutely shut down Sterling. I think if a goal was going to happen for City, there was going to be a Sterling contribution, and Reece James just completely shut him down the whole game.
yeah.
And like you were saying about the resilience, the Chelsea resilience in defense, from the first minute of the game, you could see them sliding to every single shot, committing 100% to every ball in their box and around their own box. And at the end of the day, you don't have to have possession in the midfield if you're willing to do that in your own half. Because from there, you recover and you lead to chances on the other side, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think if it was any other team, to be honest, Man City would have won. I think Chelsea did really well. I give them a lot of credit, and I give Tuchel a lot of credit. I think he did really well.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's the one thing I feel is gaining a lot of awareness now, and I feel as coaches we need to incorporate this more into our whatever our philosophy of football is, because Tuchel said they needed to have a bond. You see, and it's all nice and cool when we try to speak with players about technique and tactics and whatever, but sometimes we forget that one, we are human beings. So what is the story that you can create that brings about this bond to fight and die on the pitch? You see, I feel that that's a very important aspect of coaching that maybe that has not been really explored, but this is very important.
Chelsea is coming back from a defeat, an FA Cup defeat. They barely squeaked into top four, right? So this was like their finale of the season, like literally, but also like as a team, this is after two defeats. This is where you have to show, and they definitely showed up.
I think also look where they were before the manager change, right? When Lampard was there. So I think this goes hand in hand with what you said. I think Lampard, that's where Lampard failed. Literally the exact same players were not performing on the Lampard. You, I always got the sense that when you're a top player, when you're an elite player, and then you right away become a coach, especially if you're a legend of that club, and then right away you become the manager of that club. For some reason, right or wrong, you have this assumption that everybody has to be as good as you were, or everybody has to work as hard as you did, and you just assume this without getting to know your players. Like Lampard played at a when he's from a different generation. The players he has are way too young. They're kids. They're young players that have different mentalities, and as a coach, you have to get to know these players. You have to get these players to buy your philosophy, believe your personality, your characteristic, your tactical approach, or whatever it may be, and then bring the best out of them and like look at them as human beings. I think that's where Lampard failed, and I think that's where a lot of these ex uh, legends that become managers fail to do.
But don't you think that Lampard got the best? Well, this is interesting. That Lampard brought the best out of a situation where they had no ways of making transfers. All the young English players that he brought on at the beginning, not this season, but the season prior when they were transfer
Yeah,
banned. Um,
yeah,
Abraham, Mason Mount started playing. Reece James was playing. They all performed under Lampard. Lampard couldn't get control of the elite players, like the reinforcements that came the last transfer window. I think that also comes into mind with what Ayo was saying about like a storyline and like what they're fighting for. I think like the young English players really looked up to Lampard and performed. He just couldn't get the same thing about the foreign players that came in, the reinforcements.
yeah. Because the youngish players are looking at their idol, right? Frank Lampard
Exactly.
is one of their idol.
Yep.
The foreign players, they don't have that same view, right? So now whose job is it to change that? Whose job is it to bring the best out of those young players as well? It's the manager's
Yeah.
job. And I think that's where Lampard lacked the experience,
Yep.
and it didn't. And I think that's what happened with Pirlo at Juve. that's what's happening at Arsenal with Arteta. I honestly don't see Arsenal. I know Ayo disagrees with me, but I don't know. Why are you laughing, Ayo?
I think I personally will lay judgment on Arteta after the end of this season, where he has no European football. Then we can actually see the improvement on the pitch. For all I can see, Arsenal are improving. Like I feel that the team is in a better place than they were when Arteta came in. For they've won some trophies. That's always good. You have young emerging talent like Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Pepe. I really think that team is in a good place, but we'll see. It's who's better off today, Arsenal or Everton? Let's look at it that way. For sure, it's Arsenal,
Yeah.
and the manager of Everton is Ancelotti. And I mean this in a way that Everton too are good. They've had a good season by all accounts. So it's an evolution for these teams. How would they do next season? And then we'll tell. But I like Arteta a lot. I feel that when I listen to what he says, he knows what he's talking about. I think.
Listen, I hope Arteta does well. You know, I just I just hope that it's not another Lampard or another Pirlo situation. But we'll see, I guess.
Bello was too fast. You move in like it must be difficult managing a team where you have Ronaldo. Not difficult in the sense that he's a difficult player, but difficult in the sense that you're meeting a personality. Like, no offense. Any of us, I would like to think that most of us can go into, say, TFC changing room and maybe speak about football. Now, whether we're going to be good coaches, we don't know. The biggest challenge we would have is the personalities we meet. They are much bigger personalities than us. Now, Pirlo was a massive personality, but that's quite a long time ago. Ronaldo is the man now. So how do you deal with that kind of situation? I feel that maybe that might have been too fast for Pep. I mean, even Pep doesn't really deal with big personalities. He's had his issues with Ibrahimovic. So you see,
Yeah.
that's an interesting part. I think might have been so difficult for Pelo, and that's why I like Xabi Alonso. Is having a really good time coaching his young team, and he might
Yeah.
be a really good coach.
I think that's where we can also give a lot of credit to Zidane. I think that's Zidane's biggest um, skill. I think he has that skill to be able to manage those big personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of big players that become managers don't, right? Like look at the players Zidane was dealing with and look at all the success he had, right?
For sure, I think
He
Zidane is one of the best managers in the world.
I know you do, Ayo. I know you do. You make those comments to me every couple of weeks.
His records say that he's a manager that I feel doesn't speak in terms of philosophies and all that. He just adapts, and I see him as someone who reads the art of war. That's actually how I see it. And he's always ready for battle. What else do you want? He's literally won almost all the finals he's played in. How else do you define tactics or tactical?
No, no. Listen.
Yeah,
I'm
so
glad. I'm glad he was in charge. He did a lot of good things, but I also had my disagreements with him at times. But
yeah,
that's
fair
okay.
enough. Fair
Who cares
enough.
about me?
Something that's very interesting this offseason is that managers are being traded like players. Everyone's swapping around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, who's the guy that went to Bayern? There's like a transfer fee associated with him. Nagelsmann, I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce his
yeah,
name,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there was a transfer fee related to terminating the contract of a manager, which is pretty interesting. I think now people are realizing how much of an impact a manager really has on a team, and which managers really stand out. Going back to the Pirlo situation at Juve, I think it's also like an energy problem. Like I can't picture Pirlo bringing a lot of energy to a locker room,
He's too
especially
composed.
yeah, he's too composed, especially when you're dealing with players like Ronaldo and superstars of Italy. Um, I think when you're doing well, he can compliment you, but I can see Pirlo having a hard time turning the ship around in a locker room like that, and I think that's what happened towards the end of the season for Juventus.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. That's a very good point. I like that. Speaking of other managers, Allegri went back to Juve. What do we think about that? What do we think about Inzaghi going to Inter Milan, ex AC Milan legend? Conte to Real Madrid, perhaps?
Maybe.
Spurs? Where's Poch? I think PSG just came out and said Pochettino is not going anywhere. He has a contract, so he's staying put. And now, who's Spurs bringing in? Who's Real Madrid bringing in?
I'm not too familiar with how Inzaghi coaches. I think Inter obviously they won the Italian Serie A and are trying to maintain their top spot. I think they have a really solid team, so I'm interested to see what Inzaghi brings. That's different. Um, but for Poch staying at PSG, I think PSG had a terrible season, and I think he's already trying to jump off. I heard rumors of him going back to Spurs, which I don't think PSG are going to be too happy about that.
I followed Inzaghi for quite a while, for maybe 3 years. I like him a lot. I like he plays like a 3-5-2 with three in the middle and two strikers. I think he's a good coach. I wanted him at Chelsea actually last year before Lampard. Uh, Probably an evolution for Inter Milan, given Conte played three at the back, so it's kind of easier for the players. I think he's a flexible coach. I think I like him as a coach. That's for sure.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see where all these managers are going to end up. Obviously, Mourinho went back to Italy too, so that's going to be an exciting league. I want to thank you guys for making the time to be here tonight. I know it's a bit later tonight, but thanks for making the time. Ayo, it's great to have you as always. Your point of view and your perspective about games and philosophy always intrigues me, and it's my pleasure to have you. So thank you.
My pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about football.
Thank you, sir.
And also nice seeing you guys again.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, Lau. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, guys.